time is clearly fake because how have we already gone through a quarter of the year already? Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brie and this is 4 Paws in a Book. I want to try something out this year and I want to do quarterly wrap-ups, quarterly reviews, talk about some stats, my TBR goals, things like that, as well as kind of talk about some favorites that I've had throughout the quarter. I'm hoping that this will help me because at the end of the year I go to make my favorites list and I can't remember anything about books, especially at the beginning of the year. So we're going to try this. We're going to see if it works. I'm going to be talking about my general reading stats for the quarter. I'm going to tell you how I've been doing on my goals, and then we'll talk about favorites. I read 51 books in the first 3 months of the year, which is a lot. Obviously, Realmathon definitely helped with that, but I had good reading months in January and February as well. Now, if you remember from my goals video, I only said that I wanted to read 100 books. Obviously, I knew I was going to read more, as evidenced by the fact that I am over halfway to that goal. So I'm definitely not worried about that 100. I foresee me hitting this around June, maybe a little bit into July, because May is usually a very low reading month for me as I prep for Amazing Readathon. My total page count was 20,059 pages, which is a lot. This also includes the books that I have DNF'd, because 51 books were the ones that I finished, but I also DNF'd 4 books. That page count does add into there. I'm actually a little bit upset that I only DNF'd 4 books in the first 3 months of the year, because I feel like I probably could have DNF'd more. We're still learning how to do that. I am still a completionist at heart. I am still someone who wants to finish books, but that is very counter to my goal of trying to read down my TBR. What is the point of reading a bad, or even worse, mid book when I have so many here that could be all-time favorites? On average, my books were about 393 pages, so it wasn't even that I was reading a bunch of short books. I had some real chonkers in here for sure. And if you average it out, I'm reading about 228 pages a day. That is a lot. Obviously, there are days that I'm reading a lot more than that, days that I'm reading less than that, but 228, that's close to being like a short book every single day. Some other fun stats. 33 of the books that I picked up in the first quarter were from authors that I have read from before, so we're definitely trending towards returning authors, favorite authors, things like that. But this number is a little bit skewed because I've kind of binged a couple of series, and so obviously even if the first book is a new author, then subsequent books become returning authors. Does that make sense? And then 30 of the books that I read had some form of identity representation. So queer characters, POC characters, or POC or queer authors, mental health representation, things like that. I don't have it broken out because it got really wonky in the graph. So I just have a checkbox for if there was some sort of representation, and then in my notes on my spreadsheet I put what type of representation. As far as when these books were published, I have 25 that were backlist books. For me, a backlist book means that it was written in 2023 or prior. I have 17 books that were written in 2024 and 9 books that were written in 2025. Obviously that number is going to get bigger the farther we get into the year because I'm definitely hauling a lot of 2025 releases, so now it's just time to read them. I am definitely in my series era right now. I started 15 series in the first quarter of 2025. Some of them I finished because I binged the whole series, but yeah, 15 series that I started working on this quarter. And then I am caught up with 10 series, which means that I have read either the last book in the series or the one that is most recently published. All right, for star ratings, I am pretty excited about this one. My average for the quarter, it was a 3.91. If you're new to my channel, I used to have a very complicated kind of system for rating my books, and because of that, they were lower. My average was closer to a 3.5. This year I decided to change it up. I'm doing it based on vibes. I'm doing it on enjoyment. If I love a book, if it's keeping me up at night, then I'm going to rate it 5 stars. And that has definitely showcased in this higher average rating. So my lowest rating for the quarter was 2 stars. I did have 3 of those. I had 2 2.5 stars. I had 9 3 stars. I had 5 3.5 stars. I had 13 4-star reads, 6 4.5-star reads, and 13 5-star reads. And that is amazing, okay? Last year at this time, I think I had 3 5-star reads. And so being able to just pick up books that I'm going to love, I think a lot of this has helped because I've been binging series. I read the Legacy series and I also reread the Empyrean series up to Onyx Storm and then read that. And also I finished out the Hunger Games trilogy. Those were rereads, but still counts, and were all 5-star reads. For formats, I read 23 books solely on audio. I read 7 books physically, either like the paperback, hardback, physical book, or on ebook. I'm kind of combining those together. And then 21 books were read mixed. So either I was immersion reading it, or I would go back and forth between the physical book and the audiobook, which honestly has been my favorite way to read recently. And then let's talk about genres. I read 9 fantasy books in the first quarter, 19 romantasy books. Who's shocked? Honestly. 12 romance, which were all contemporary romance, 5 horror, 3 thriller, 2 nonfiction books, and 1 lonely little sci-fi. All right, let's talk about goals. First up, let's talk about my 25 in 25. And honestly, I am doing fantastic at this. We are like almost halfway, I think. Pretty close, and it's only the first quarter. Obviously, it's going to get harder as we go through the year because it's easy to like put a book in somewhere where it fits when there's lots of prompts. So I'm not like thinking that I'll be finished with it by quarter 2, but who knows, maybe. Now let's talk about the TBR goals. We're not doing fantastic at them. Well, not really. One of them we are, one of them we're not. It's fine. If you watched my goals video, you know that I am splitting up my TBR number. So I have a 2024 TBR number, which is anything that I owned prior to January 1st. And then everything that I bought this year is on my 2025 TBR. So for my 2024 TBR, I wanted to reduce my number by 100. Honestly, I think I might have made that one a little bit too easy because we're already at 49. So we're already almost halfway there. A lot of that, however, is because I did a pretty big unhaul when I reorganized my shelves. And so 28 of the books were from an unhaul, 21 of them were from books that I read. But the 2025 number is a little bit ridiculous, okay? I've hauled a lot of books and I haven't read a lot of them. Yeah, I've read 37% of the books that I've hauled in 2025. I do think that that number will go up. It will. I know it will. It has to hit 50% by the end of the year. I'm gonna make it a priority. The reason I say that is because I went to some book conventions, and so like obviously you get a lot of books then, and then also like working with a couple of authors, they've sent me stuff, and so that all goes on to my TBR, and I haven't, you know, read through all of Jasmine's books yet. But, you know, we'll get there. We'll get there. So this number definitely could be worse. If you look at my first book haul of 2025, I think I was at 8%. So 2 months later, we're doing okay, but we want to get this a lot better by the middle of the year. Let's talk about some favorites. Like I said, I had 13 5-star reads, and so picking 5 that are kind of like the highlights of the quarter was honestly kind of difficult. So we're gonna try, okay? Not saying that these books are going to end up for sure on my best books of the year, but right now in this moment, these are my top 5 books. So in spot number 5, I'm going to put Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. This is the 3rd book in the Empyrean cycle, Empyrean series, 4th Wing. Okay, this is the 3rd 4th Wing book. There has been a lot of mixed opinions, a lot of mixed commentary on this book, and I understand the reasoning for it. I don't think that this is a perfect book by any stretch of the imagination. I do think that Iron Flame was like really long, too long. It dragged a little bit, and so this one, especially because I read them all kind of back to back, this one felt so rushed. There was so much happening in this book that you really couldn't catch your breath, but I still absolutely loved it, okay? We are definitely starting to get more into the romance. We are starting to get into some morally gray issues, and we're also seeing a lot of politics at play. This, I think, is such a perfect blend for me personally of fantasy and romance that I couldn't not give it 5 stars. I couldn't not put it in this. I have an entire vlog where I read this. It is definitely filled with spoilers, so be careful there, but if you want to check that out, go ahead. In spot number 4, we have Queen of the Blood Throne by Rhiannon Harden. This is the 2nd book in the Descendants of the Fates series. If you watch my best books of 2024, you know that book 1 snuck in at the very end, at like the week between Christmas and New Year's, and ended up on my best books of the year, and this is book 2. I was a little bit confused by this book because it's actually a prequel, and it's a prequel from somebody that you already know how her story ends up. So it's kind of like, you know, when you watch Rogue One and you're like, I already know what's gonna happen, so why am I getting, like, I don't need to get attached to these characters. The problem is that Rhiannon was like, no, you actually do. And then you're gonna think about what happened in book 1 and you're gonna get more sad all over again. I think it was so beautifully done, so just like masterfully crafted. I'm going to be finishing book 3 in April and I am so excited. And then there's gonna be a book 4. I thought that this was a trilogy, but no, she's writing a book 4 right now and I'm very excited about it, so I need to finish up book 3, so I'm ready for it. I do have vlogs for all of these, so I will link them down below if I run out of card space, but they'll all be linked in the description. Number 3 is Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. This is a little horror novella that really took me by surprise. I read this for BookTuber favorites, and there were several people that had this on their list, and I do not know what happened in this book, honestly. This is one of those books that there was such a like fine line between it being a romance and a horror, and so because of that you felt edged the entire time because you know it's a horror. It's on the shelf as a horror in the bookstore, but it starts out with this cute farmer's market and these two girls that are being cute together, and you know, she feeds her a cupcake and it's just sweet and cute, but then you're like, but she's probably psycho because this is a horror. And so then you're like, no, don't go to her house. No, don't do that. Don't do that. This does have some like body horror and some gore in it. So know that going in if you don't read any horror. But I would still consider this kind of cozy horror, horror light. So even if you don't read a lot of horror, you might pick this up. Okay, I lied. We do not have a vlog for this one, but I'm not going to talk about it that much because it's still very new and very popular, and I'm not going to spoil this. Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. What? This book will rip your heart out. I should have vlogged it. I was just reading it when I was on my business trip, and so I didn't really have the opportunity to. I was literally like listening to it when I would walk from my hotel to my conference every day. So it was a kind of a nice like quiet moment. The ending of this book will absolutely ruin you. It's probably why I'm in a reading slump right now, if we're being 100% honest, because nothing is going to live up to this book. Prior to this book coming out, Catching Fire was my favorite Hunger Games novel, and if you liked Catching Fire, if you like the characters that are in Catching Fire, this one, there are so many callbacks to it. There are so many things that happen in those books that like are now explained in here. And here's the thing, Suzanne Collins has said time and time again that she will only write a Hunger Games novel when she has something to say. My golly, she had something to say. This book starts out with quotes from George Orwell, William Blake, David Hume. Like, she has something to say. All propaganda is lies, even when one is telling the truth. I don't think this matters so long as one knows what one is doing and why. Like, she really just said, like, mic drop. I've seen some really interesting theories about this book and then a potential next book, because it makes sense that we could see a third book that would kind of close out the second trilogy. And there's some really interesting ideas behind who the main character might be. Because me personally, I want to see the end of the Hunger Games. What happens after Mockingjay? And there are a few characters that I think could really round it out, that saw the beginning, the middle, and the end. And yeah, that's my 2 cents, just my opinion. I'm now on Hunger Games TikTok. I've seen all of the opinions, the theories, everything like that. And listen, I cannot wait for the movie to come out. However, there was one book that surpassed it. Okay, this one for sure is going to end up on my best books of the year because I went down a rabbit trail with this. I was sucked in, okay? Reign of Shadows and Endings by Melissa K. Rourke. This book is amazing. This is a dark fantasy romance, so please know that going in. The first book specifically, there is a lot of like dubious consent. There are some instances where our main character, our female main character, is put in a position that like she does not want to be there. It's a fated mates type of scenario where our fae are like bonded to our gods, our descendants, and she doesn't want to be. She was not set up for that. But as we go farther into the series, we do find out like she is a badass, as we knew she would be. She definitely has like some special powers, things like that. I always want to caution people, because if they go into this one and are like, oh, I don't know if I like this, I don't know if I like this dynamic, especially if they don't read a lot of romantasy, but just know she does have some power, and but this is so good. And at one point in the series, it does become poly. There's dragon shifters. There are lots of like mythical beings and things like that. I am very excited to read her second series. I guess technically that one's her first. I was supposed to read that one first, but I didn't. I don't know if that's gonna hurt me or not. But yeah, we are gonna read Lady of Darkness soon. I don't know when, but soon. All right, that's a wrap on the first quarter of 2025 as far as my reading. I have so many things that are happening in quarter two. I have new vlogs that are going to be coming out, and of course the amazing readathon 3.0 will be happening. And let me tell ya, it's y'all aren't ready for it. Y'all are not ready. I think I one-upped myself even from last year. If you're interested in some like sneak peeks, some Easter eggs, we are going to be doing a Patreon exclusive readathon the last 2 weeks of April. So as you're watching this, should be like the following week, I believe, if I've done my math correctly. It's available for all tiers. However, the top 2 tiers are going to be getting a special extra live show where I'll be spilling a lot of the details. All of that information is going to be linked down below. There is no pressure, no obligation. It's just something extra that I like to do for the people that are supporting my channel. Let me know a book that you absolutely loved in the first quarter of 2025. If you don't rank books, if you don't have like an all-time favorite yet, that's okay. Just tell me one that you really loved. And if you're not feeling chatty, do some sort of like spring flower emoji as we go into the warmer spring months. If you want to check out any of the vlogs that I talked about in this video, I'm going to link one right here and one right here for you. You can check it out, see my live thoughts about some of these books that I absolutely loved. That is all I have for you today. If you're new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little button that you can do so down below the video. If you'd like to hang out with me more, the links to my Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, and my Patreon are linked in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!